With the recent changes to Jax, more and more players decided to give EDM reroll a chance, and it established itself as a pretty decent meta comp. It can be quite easy to reach top 4 thanks to its strong mid game, but it will often fall a bit flat in the late game against true damage and hardstyle opponents. One of the reasons this comp has seen more play, besides the Jax buffs, is a new Lux positioning that has been going around in the last few days. It goes a bit like this. You want to use the EDM selector on Jax so everyone copies his spell. The way Jax works is that he jumps on the highest health enemy within a 2 hex range. He deals a large amount of damage to his main target and a lower amount to every enemy adjacent to him. If Zed or Zac copy Jax, then the concept remains the same, since they are both melee units. But with Lux it's a bit different. As we've seen in previous examples, if you have a Lux in the last row, she will jump forward and then return to her original position. The reach of her jump is determined by taking her auto attack range and then adding +1 to it, the same way Jax does. Since she starts with 4 range, this allows her to easily jump across the entire map. One way to utilize this mechanic is to put Lux towards the front line. If you hover over her hex range in the tooltip, you can see a visual on how far she can reach. If you sample for Jax, you have to imagine an additional hex and then you get an idea for the full range of her jump. If you want to have it easy, you simply put her in the second row. This way she will reach the entire board, and it doesn't matter if the opponent put their carry in the top left or the top right corner, since she can reach both. The only problem with this strategy is that the second row is a pretty scary place for Lux, and she is often taken out before dealing a significant amount of damage. Items like Edge of Night can definitely help, but there is another way to approach this. You can simply move Lux into the third row. If we hover over her hex range and add one more, we can see that she can still reach the enemy corner from this position. She is much safer in the third row, and this also has an interesting effect on how your fights play out. If the enemy carry is in the opposite corner, then her jump can't reach, but she has perfect positioning for her laser, so even your worst case scenario isn't all that bad. Your main goal in this comp is usually to find a Jax EDM headliner with level 6 in stage 3-2 and run a bunch of moshers to support him. You don't have to stay level 6. You can push for level 7 at the start of stage 4 to get better access for Zed and Zac to reach 5 EDM, and you can also roll for Jax and Lux at the same time. In late game, you want to run a strong Poppy as an additional carry with at least 4 mosher. You can also add Pentakill, Illaoi or Kiana to cap out your late game once your EDM units start to fall off. The items tend to be a combination of AP, spell crit and some sustain, but I do want to mention Edge of Night and Zhonya specifically. An aggro drop for your Jax 3-star is quite valuable because his jump has a bit of an unfortunate mechanic. You can call it a micro stun or a taunt, but he will cause the main target that he jumps on to swap aggro towards him. It's not a super big deal since he is supposed to one-shot his main target most of the time, but it's something to keep in mind, especially when your Jax is still on the weaker side. I tested this comp a bit and I was definitely impressed by how strong it felt in the mid game. It's by no means the strongest comp in the game right now, but at least it's something worth trying if you are tired of the current meta. The main problem you will encounter is the fact that you're playing a reroll comp and you definitely want your Jax 3-star, otherwise you will be lacking damage. If someone is hard contesting you in your lobby, then you might have to prepare to hold hands because you're in for a rocky ride. I hope you learned something and see you next time.